Hello there! I'm Squire Callahan Ridgeborn, almost a Battlemaster, always a wizard, and tonight I'm joined by Centurion Aurelius, a knight and a paragon of the rising winds. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here.
I'm so glad to have you on. I actually originally reached out to you to talk about playing Warrior, and you said that you haven't played Warrior much since V7, but you really like AP. So I'm
Yep.
super excited to have you
Also
on.
Paragon AP. So,
Awesome. How did you get your start in Amtgard?
my brother, actually, I was in the Army. The guy who recruited me into the Army also recruited me into the SCA. And my brother heard about what I was doing, couldn't find a local group to him, found Amtgard instead, loved it. And when I came back on leave, he introduced me, and I started cross gaming ever since.
Okay. Are you the guy that's racing his brother to try to get Warlord first?
I am indeed, and I just won.
That's so awesome. Okay.
He's sitting on ninth out in California.
I've been rooting for you quietly ever since I found out.
Ah, well, thank you, and I'm glad I didn't let you down.
Oh, that's so awesome. You did it. Oh, okay. That's so
Yeah,
cool. I found
I
out
showed
when
up that day,
you.
and I knew one of us was going to be a warlord, and I guess it was me.
What's your favorite kind of battle game?
Personally, I like mild objective-based games. Take no more than 10 minutes to explain the rules, preferably closer to 5. A couple of field obstacles, generally speaking, a more or less open field with a little bit of terrain, and a simple objective. That way, you've got a reason to fight beyond just class smash.
Mhm.
You've got a little bit of strategy. You've got ways for people of all skill levels to participate. And it's not too complicated, and it's not very gameable.
Okay. So, what made you start playing Anti-Paladin?
I hate CC, and Anti-Paladin is immune to all of the CC that I hate.
Okay. Which thing specifically?
So you're immune to all of command,
Mhm.
which means that anything back in V7, it was Charm Person was my least favorite spell.
Mm.
V8, Awe, and oh shoot, there's a couple others. I forget what they are because I don't have to care about them. Anytime somebody starts their words with "I command," I just ignore them and then try to hit them.
Okay. So you
And then
started.
my second least favorite is flame or heat weapon, and being immune to flame, I don't have to worry about it.
Absolutely.
I also hang out with other polearm fighters, and when their pole gets heated, I've perfected the art of switching poles rapidly
Okay.
because I can use a heated pole, being immune to flame, and if my pole isn't currently hot, then we just trade and keep fighting.
Okay.
It's almost as good as them casting it on me and wasting the slot.
All right. Playing into the teamwork. I like it. You started playing AP when it was still a reserved knight class.
Correct. I was knighted in, I believe, 2018, and that's when I started playing.
Okay. What
AP.
was your first knighthood?
Serpent.
Okay.
I am the best bladesmith in Amtgard.
A
I'm
bold
sure there's a
statement.
couple other people who would take issue with me saying that, but I'd be happy to compare work anytime. And
Okay.
I'd be happy to be wrong.
Foam or steel?
Steel.
Okay. That's super neat. I've always liked the concept of being a blacksmith a lot more than the practice, but for someone to actually do it, that's super awesome.
It ends up being a lot more grinding than blacksmithing when you're doing bladesmithing, but yeah, it's the lies we tell ourselves, I guess.
Learn something new every day. Okay. So you've played AP since V7. You've played it all the way through the years when it was really bad, all the way to when, like, the modern day.
Never got to play it in V7 because
Okay.
V7 was, I believe, circa 11-ish is when we switched.
That sounds right.
I
I was
didn't get
around
knighted
for it.
until 2018.
Okay. So the day you got knighted, you ran for it. I like it. All right.
Almost immediately.
So why do you love the anti-paladin class?
It really fits my playstyle well. I think we already talked about it a little bit, but I just warlorded, so I've been high level fighter for quite a while, and even vanilla AP from back when it was terrible and underpowered lent itself very well to highly skilled fighters because you can't CC me away easily, and you can't take my weapons away.
Okay.
At least not easily. You can still do pyrotechnics, but almost nobody takes it because it's so expensive.
Yeah. As a wizard,
Almost everybody just takes a heat weapon, and it works on everyone but me.
is there a fictional character that best represents anti-paladins?
Honestly, I hadn't really thought about it. Historically, honestly, I think it's the Romans. They brought civilization to a lot of places, and almost nobody enjoyed it.
Okay.
They were
So
the good guys in their own minds, and in literally no one else's.
okay. So for you,
To me, that exemplifies the anti-paladin.
I like that. You're the hero of your own story, and you don't want to hear anybody else complain about it.
Exactly. They're
Okay.
just
So what makes anti-paladin so unique and so different from all the other classes?
It combines two different sets of roles that not a lot of other classes have. For example, you've got warriors who are on the very tanky end. If you want somebody to sit on an objective and not die for a long time, warrior is your class. If you want to kill quickly and easily, wizard or druid are your classes.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to do both of those things, anti-paladin is your class. Because you can wear 4 points of armor. You are the only one of only 3 classes in the game that can wear what I consider heavy armor, which is more than 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
I would call them anti-paladin, paladin medium armor, where you essentially have 2 points of armor versus the warrior has 4.
Yeah.
But everybody else essentially has 1 point because of the way armor breaking works and the readily available armor breaking to every class. Every class has access to some form of armor breaking, most of them fairly easily, which means that if you're wearing anything less than 4 points, you effectively have 1. Anti-paladin has 2, so you have that much more durability, and you have access to polearms, which doesn't give you the 20-foot wizard range, but it gives you more or less 10-foot of range with your arms plus your feet plus an 8-foot generally polearm.
Okay.
So you've got half the range of a wizard and all of the killing power that you can generate based on your skill, and you can't get CC'd away easily. It takes a terror, which is an expensive spell, or pyrotechnics, which is an expensive spell.
Yeah. Okay.
So your tanky DPS.
I like that. That's a unique role on our field.
Almost nobody else has it.
Okay. Is there anybody else you think that fits into that niche a little bit?
Barbarians, kind of. And paladins, kind of.
Okay.
Warriors are not at all immune to CC. In fact, if you see a warrior on an objective, what's your first thought?
Oh, I'm going to shove them. Gone.
Right. Yeah. Or awe, or name it. Name the verbal and you're throwing it at a warrior.
Every spell hits them.
Yeah. Paladins are completely immune to CC because they're also immune to death, but you can take their weapons away. So to me, they're more of a dive class rather than a tanky DPS.
I can see that.
Because you can't shove them away. You can take their equipment away, which means they have to close quickly while they still have something to fight you with. Versus anti-paladin, you probably don't have anything to take my stuff away, and you probably don't have a spell to CC me away. I think Bard's the only one that has terror, correct?
Bards have terror. Wizard
Oh,
can.
anti-paladin has 2 now, don't they?
Yes,
Yeah,
anti-paladin has terror per life. Wizards and everybody can shove works on everybody except for monks, because it's sorcery school. But the good CC, generally speaking, is going to, like, the really good stuff is going to be command, which you're immune to. And then you get, like you said, your weapons can't get heated. They could still get shattered, but no one ever takes shatter weapon because it's per refresh. So,
Yeah, very expensive spell.
For not a lot of effects. Like, oh, I shattered your pole, and now you go get it mended, and, that per life negated my per refresh. This is why nobody uses it.
Right? It's a bad exchange. At park level, sure, use it, great.
Yeah.
It can negate, but at kingdom level, no way.
Yeah, no. The math doesn't work. So, okay. So
in fact,
go ahead.
Where you go with the anti-shove is one of the new prestige classes for anti-paladin. Negates that as well with void touched.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't have or take that prestige class, if you're a vanilla anti-paladin, you are one of the primary users of void touched. If any wizard on your team has one, they're looking for you because it synergizes extremely well with the anti-paladin set.
It gives them some really unique ability to. They are really set up to abuse that spell quite a bit.
Absolutely, gives you immunity to death, immunity to sorcery, unfortunately immunity to spirit as well, which means it's hard to heal. But you've got native steal life and you've got the unlimited steal life from void touched.
Right.
Basically, the anti-paladin, while it's tanky DPS, it's also a curse generator.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to negate the enemy team's healers, and void touch turbocharges that.
Absolutely. On anti-paladin, what ability do you like the best?
Personally, I like the immunities the best. Like we talked about earlier, I just warlorded. Mm-hmm. So the poison doesn't help me much, and neither does the flame blade. Because I can generally kill people around their equipment pretty readily. Especially if I'm running a speed pull, I don't miss the armor breaking for the native armor breaking. And I honestly don't tell the Paragon Castle list, but I forget that I have flame blade a lot just because I don't need it.
Okay.
But if you're not a warlord level fighter, the poison gives you a free win.
Mm-hmm.
Per refresh. Or no, it's per life. Yeah, it's per life charge times 3. So just take a breather and get your free win back. And then the two flame blades also let you take apart some armor.
Yeah. Well,
so even if you're not a particularly skilled fighter, you can still do some significant damage with anti-paladin.
So we've talked a little bit about you being a warlord now and how you just got your warlord. That's super cool. How much of the warlord do you think has assisted you in battle gaming? Because let's go with that first.
Well, I'm a battle master for two reasons. One being having been a near warlord and now warlord level fighter for quite some time was the primary driver of getting battle master. I'm red green colorblind, so I struggle mightily with casting. I can't tell what sash you're wearing half the time, which means I don't know what you're immune to. I don't know what I should do to you. I can't tell a druid apart from a healer, unless you're using unique equipment. And even then, if you throw there's a third class archer into the mix, I'm lost. I can't tell half the sashes apart, so I don't know who to cast what at what. Spell balls also throw me for a loop. Like, I've been hit by more than one entangle that I thought was a lightning bolt and vice versa. Just because a lot of folks really light colored green and you throw your lightning bolt enough times, it turns dark enough that it could be green.
Yeah.
So I struggle with that. And so the other thing that got me to Battle Master was breaking games. That's why I like the simple objectives, because they're really hard for people like me to break.
Okay.
If you're fighting over MacGuffin in the middle, or you're just doing a straight up King of the Hill fight, how do you break that? It's a simple objective. One team fights better than the other, maybe a little bit of strategy. But if you're doing something like collecting ammunition for a siege weapon that you have to then drag across the field or something like that, then I can do, I don't know if I'm allowed to say the words dick move, but
you can manipulate,
be unkind to my opponents and police up all the ammunition so that only we can score. Things like that.
Okay. So you have two paragons, right? You have your warrior and your AP.
Right.
So most of your higher level battle awards, I mean, you probably got what did you get your AP paragon?
That was, I think, 2022.
Okay.
Just after COVID.
Okay. So how did you get the rest of the way to Battle Master then? Was it just by breaking games, or was there anything specifically?
I think if I recall correctly, they started me at either 8 or 9.
Oh, okay.
Once Battle Master was formalized. Just from, I used to be Sol Invictus back when Sol Invictus existed.
Okay.
And we are the only company that's won 3 keeps.
Okay.
So I was given a lot of credit for that. And then my Paragon Warrior was V7, but it was a Kingdom level, so they counted it as a Paragon.
Okay. Yeah.
Even though I haven't played with V8, it's still Kingdom level, still counts.
All right, I see how you got there then.
Just like Warlords from the 90s are still Warlords. Paragon from V7 that's Kingdom level is still a Kingdom level Paragon. And then Paragon Anti-Paladin, and I'm convinced Amtgard gave me Battle Master, so I'd quit tryharding at keep.
Okay.
But to me, the difference between a Battle Master and a Battle Knight is the Battle Master can break games and win games. The Battle Knight knows when to do that.
Okay.
And when to let other people have fun.
Okay. That's all right. Looping back over to Anti-Paladin, which ability do you like the least on the Anti-Paladin list?
Personally, I honestly dislike Flameblade the most. It's the least necessary of them. It doesn't synergize well with the class because you already have flame immunity.
Mm-hmm.
You can already pick up a crushing breaking pole to get the crushing breaking. To me, it's kind of meh. As I know, there's no such thing as a capstone ability. Each level of a class adds an ability. There's no such thing as a capstone.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at what wizards and basically all the casters get at 6th level and even like Warrior gets Ancestral Armor at 6th level.
Right.
And Anti-Paladin gets Flameblade.
Yeah. When Paladin and Anti-Paladin got opened up, they messed with my head, because in my mind it makes more sense for the Paladin to be pro flame. Anti-Paladin gets Flameblade, then Paladin's immunity should negate Paladin's ability. Like the two should stop each other, right? But
thematically it makes sense, but I also thematically being immune to death makes sense for a Paladin too.
I can really see either way. Either give Paladin a flame capstone and give Anti-Paladin a death capstone, or like something with that just to make him a little more on brand. But I'm not the V8 game designer, so I don't know what they were thinking about at the time.
I was president of Amtgard. I can't say king of Amtgard for a day because we have kings, but if I was president of all of Amtgard for a day and I could control it via, I don't know, presidential fiat, I would change out Flameblade for Vampirism.
Oh, really?
Synergizes a whole lot better with the Anti-Paladin kit. It's a lot more thematic. Gives you immunity to death for 2 lives, which is a really nice boost to Anti-Paladin. It's only for 2 lives. And it gives you, what does it give you? Let me pull it up.
It gives you a...
That's right. Unlimited adrenaline, which is also fits well with the Anti-Paladin kit. Keep killing and stay up.
That's kind of nuts. So I'm a wizard main. I play a lot of wizard. Vampirism is one of my very few enchantments, and no one ever wants it. Like,
if you see me playing Anti-Paladin on the field, I'll happily take it. If nobody's got a void touch, I'm there for vampirism.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those enchantments feels...
Sorry, go ahead.
It feels neat, but in practice, it gives you, I think, one of the worst abilities in the game. And like pro death is nice, but adrenaline just kind of sucks. If you're wearing any armor at all, and you're getting, limbed, like, okay.
If you got gaps, I guess, did they fix the armor gaps? I need to reread the armor rules. They've changed it enough times. I've kind of lost track.
Yeah, they've changed armor rules so many times as to...
I think you can still get gapped, and if you do get gapped, it's nice to be able to get your limb back. But the advantage to adrenaline over Steel Life that a lot of folks don't talk about is that Steel Life has to be touch range, which means with your hand.
Right.
Adrenaline just means you have to kill somebody, which is polearm range.
Yes.
So from 10 feet away, if I manage to poke you, I get a limb back. If I kill you with the polearm, I then have to knee walk over to you to Steel Life and get my legs back.
Right. And if you're on a kingdom field with people that know what they're doing, they're going to see you coming and they're going to run away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, if they're smart and they get killed by an Anti-Paladin, they're immediately running to their respawn.
Right.
That way they're not cursed while they're at it.
Yeah. Okay. When you're playing Anti-Paladin, what does your kit look like?
I've got ring mesh with an arming coat on underneath it. I've got plate van braces and with elbow caps, and then plate greaves. And I've got enough padding in my pants that's gambus and weight to cover the gap.
Okay.
So I'm basically 4 points head to toe. Well, I guess it might be 5 points in some places. At least 4 points head to toe.
Okay.
That way I max out the armor and take the lightest armor I can with the most breathability that I can.
Yeah.
I usually stuff a pair of sticks in my belt. That way I've got 2 sword available if I need it, and carry a 8.5 foot polearm.
Okay.
It is my professional opinion that carrying a shield as an anti-paladin is a liability, because subdual is your biggest threat, especially if you're void touched. And almost all of subdual is engulfing, and if you're carrying a shield, that's just a big target.
Correct.
Even if you're not, you can, by carrying a shield, now you're subject to fireballs, and you're immune to the effect of lightning bolt, but it still messes with your equipment. Mm-hmm. Now you've got a big old target on your arm that's now taking points away. A shield is purely a liability for an anti-paladin unless it's imbued.
Okay.
And almost nobody's going to burn an imbued shield on an anti-paladin.
Yeah. That's a rough sell there, I think.
Especially when you have a polearm that it can be heated, but you don't care.
Right.
And with a vanilla anti-paladin, you should be carrying a polearm.
Okay. Are there any weird rules interactions around anti-paladin?
Yes. Lightning bolt still damages your armor, but does not stop you, because you're immune to the flame, and the stopped effect is a flame-related effect.
But the damage, it still
so it still affects your armor. So it's right. In effect a force bolt.
Right.
Unless you have no armor, in which case you're wholly immune to it.
Right. Same as Fireball. Fireball will destroy the armor on the hit location, but not you if it hits you.
Right. But Fireball's a little easier for folks to grasp because it doesn't have any armor-piercing effects. It just does what it does.
Right.
So everybody kind of knows that you get hit by a fireball, your armor's gone, but you're fine. Versus with the lightning bolt, since it has that armor-piercing stopped effect, people get very upset when anti-paladins ignore the stopped effect, even though we're immune to it. But we are, in fact, immune to it. So that's that one's come up repeatedly over the years. Mm-hmm. But anti-paladins are, in fact, immune to the stopped effect.
Okay. I want to talk about teamwork for a minute here. How can other classes best team up with anti-paladin?
Monks with polearms are a fantastic duo with an anti-paladin.
Okay.
Like I said, the biggest threat is subdual, which is all balls. And if the monk in any way, shape, or form touches that subdual ball on the way in, it's totally negated. And monks, especially if they're a skilled fighter, are a huge heat weapon target. And if you're good at switching polearms in a rapid fashion, they just burn a heat weapon and cost you maybe one shot with that polearm before you're right back in action. Okay. So monks are a huge synergy. Wizards are another big one, because again, for void touched. I've done good work with barbarians before, but I think that was just because we were both really good.
Okay.
I don't know that there's any specific class interaction that made us work well together.
All right.
Yeah, I think Monk's been the big one.
How are you quick switching poles with this monk? Like, how does that work? Walk me through it.
So the usual monk I'm next to is my wife. So we've straight up practiced it. All right, I'm going to back up a little bit. Hopefully I don't mess up your framing. Of course, I'm moving, so I have absolutely nothing to use in my office anymore.
Oh no.
So I fight polearm lefty, and my wife fights polearm right-handed.
Oh.
So if her polearm gets heated, all she does is yell at me that her pole's hot. I let go with my backhand, push over with my front hand. She grabs the pole. I grab hers with the other hand, and then now I'm off and fighting with her polearm. Basically, one goes high, the other goes low.
Okay.
And so long as you ideally let go with opposite hands, then you're good to go.
So cool.
Takes us about, if we're on top of our stuff, about a second.
Okay.
So.
And the fact that you guys can right left that just feels like a double threat down the middle there.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And one of us usually is carrying a natively crushing breaking pole, so that person's job is to stab shields and break them, and the other person with a speed pole is doing the killing work.
Okay. And you guys can switch back and forth as many times as you want, because
absolutely.
Heat weapon's only 30 seconds, and that's the wombo combo right there.
Right. And she's got an innate, or she can heal, and she's got one res, so as long as I'm not void touched.
Yeah.
You can keep me going, because I'm a huge pin cushion with the polearm.
Yeah.
Archers love me.
Yeah, archers love everybody these days. They're all over the place. But yeah, I can see that. Okay. That's super cool.
And then if I wipe as before I do, I've got 2 swords, so I can do one quick dive.
Okay, so you are very much sticking together then.
What's that?
You're very much sticking together.
Oh, absolutely. I try to always have a polearm fighting partner.
Okay.
Because if you're by yourself as an anti-paladin, you're powerful if you know what you're doing. And all right, okay, good. Anti-paladin is very much a stick jock class. There's stuff you can do with it as not a stick jock, but it's actually no, they took away the undead minions. So yeah, you're going to struggle if you're not a stick jock.
Yeah.
But you are significantly more powerful if you have a monk or some other polearm class that you can synergize with. Okay. I like the monk especially because they're immune to most CC as well. So they can't just soften you up with something like a shove or an awe.
Okay. Have you ever comboed with another?
What's that?
Have you ever worked with a second anti-paladin?
I have. It's nice, but it's not nearly the synergy.
Okay.
Like you don't have the ability to swat down the spell balls is huge.
Okay.
And having a second anti-paladin, now you're both trying to dodge the entangle that's flying at you, and sometimes you dodge into each other.
I can see that. Okay.
Versus if I have a monk buddy, hopefully my monk notices it, and if not, well, hopefully there's a healer nearby with a release.
Yeah.
But either way, the team works better because I'm not dodging into somebody or getting in people's way by trying to keep myself active.
I got it. What is anti-paladin weak to?
Subdual. Just thoroughly weak to subdual.
Okay.
If you want to take an anti-paladin out, hit him with subdual.
All right.
All of them make you hold still, stop, quit doing what you're doing.
Right. Thus the team up with the monk having a lot of utility. So I want to talk about some general battle gaming questions now. How does anti-paladin play differently on a kingdom field versus a park field?
So park field, you're either running the game or you're getting wrecked, depending on how your opponents stack their abilities and spells. If your opponents run a bunch of subdual, or they take that shattered weapon or the pyrotechnics, which on a local field are absolutely worth taking, you can be removed from the game. If nobody takes those things and you are a good enough fighter to keep up with the anti-paladin kit, then, and especially if you're wearing arm, your local park will not have much fun that day. They'll have fun, but your park won't.
Right.
Kingdom field, it slots in nicely as like I said, tanky DPS. You're not going to hold an objective on your own, but an objective held by an anti-paladin is harder to take. And if you're taking an objective, an anti-paladin will take it a whole lot faster.
Okay. What is the minimum equipment I need to play anti-paladin?
In my opinion, you need full armor head to toe. Ideally 4 points, but even if you have just one, the class is balanced around having armor. And if you don't have armor, you're going to suffer. Because you don't have any of the survival or additional range or anything that a lot of the unarmored classes have to make up for the lack of armor. You're designed around having armor.
Okay.
And again, you should have a polearm. I recommend bringing some extra sticks with you just in case. Even if you don't lose your polearm for whatever reason, it's still nice to have the backup 2-sword in case somebody rushes you.
Okay. That makes sense.
A lot of times, even just having the two sword available keeps people from approaching.
Okay. Just the threat of going to flow is enough to prevent people from coming up.
Exactly.
Okay. That makes sense.
So, pole armor and a pole arm, ideally another two sticks
Okay.
in ready access. And a lot of folks like to put them on their back a little bit. I like to put them on again on my sides. That way, folks can and anybody across from me can see that they're there.
Okay. Going with the big iron method. I like
100%. Same reason I carried a big knife in Iraq. I was never planning on fighting with that big knife. My actual fighting knife was in my boot, but that big knife kept people from even trying.
the big knife says, "Hey, stand back," and that's what the
Yep.
flow swords is doing as well because you're ready to switch.
Yep. I'll absolutely switch, and I have enough armor that I'll get my sticks out.
Okay. Slight side question about your warlord. What category was your best and your worst category in the warlord fights then?
Best is a toss up between two sword and pole arm. That's why I like Anti-Paladin. A little on the nose there. Followed not too far behind by single sword.
Okay.
My worst by a wide margin is sword and board. I've never learned to fight with a shield well. I can do it well enough to bracket in any tournament, but it's a good day if I make it. And if I take second place, I'm thrilled.
That makes sense.
Now, if I get points in the board category, I'm happy.
Okay.
I think I've won one board category in a kingdom level tournament ever.
Okay. It's one more than me.
Didn't even win that tournament. I just won the board category that day.
Okay. When you are going into the open category, what is your default then?
I matched my opponent.
Okay.
I usually haul Swiss Army knife with me, and then whatever you brought, I'll bring as well, because that's what I've trained the most. Even if you brought sword and board, I'd still rather fight you sword and board than with something else, because in a tournament mindset, most of my prep work is on matched equipment. So if you bring a pole arm, I'm going to fight you with a pole. If you brought two sword, I'm fighting you with two sword. If you brought board, I'm fighting you with a board. If you brought a down stick or a down spear, I'm probably going to go to pole arm because I don't have a down spear.
Okay. Have you got a chance to play with the new archetypes at all?
A little bit. I'm pushing 40. So the what are they called again? I know what they do.
So Infernal, we'll talk about Infernal first. You gain Fireball, you get 2 Fireballs, Flame Blade becomes recharge times 5. You cannot wield shields and you lose all instances of Steel Life Essence.
So that one doubles down on being tanky DPS and removes your ability to generate curses.
Yes.
Or not entirely, you still have your Brutal Strike, but that's one curse, not the repeat curses that you get from Steel Life.
Right.
It's good for assaulting an objective and terrible for attrition.
Okay.
So it's, to me, situational. I'm not sure I'd ever use it because, again, the Flame Blade doesn't really help me much.
Right.
There's also a reason they gave me the grenade launcher in the army. That's because I can't throw. So the fireballs don't help me any either.
Okay. So it's really sort of just a waste there, but Corruptor...
Yeah, for me, personally, not useful.
Okay. So
but
Corruptor,
in general, it doubles down on the tanky DPS role.
Doubling down. Okay. With Corruptor, you gain Void Touched self only 2 per refresh. Your Terror becomes 1 per life recharge times 10, but 2 with Look the Part. But you can't wield great weapons. I mean, you lose Javelins, big whoop. And you lose all instances of Flame Blade.
I don't miss the Flame Blade, but for my place... So, if you are young and athletic, it's a fantastic prestige class. Because it turns Anti-Paladin into a dive class. You don't have the ability to fight at range anymore, so you have to close with your enemy.
Right.
But you get that free Void Touch synergy. So you're guaranteed to be able to kill one wizard.
Right. Okay. So getting in there...
I'm pushing 40, so I can't do that. Yeah, I'm not in the army anymore because I blew a knee.
Oof.
So, yeah, I really can't do that.
Yeah, you kind of got to stand your ground a bit more. Okay.
If you put me into a 20-foot box with somebody, I'm great. Which is why I can win tournaments. But you put me on a field at Kingdom and make me use nothing but 2 sword, take away my polearm, I will struggle.
Okay. So you really are built for that default anti-paladin kit.
Yeah, me personally, I am. I love the Corruptor. I love the theory. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, probably closer to 15 years ago, I would have been probably using that nonstop. At that age, I wouldn't have missed the polearm.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, at this point, I'd crutch on the polearm too much.
I don't blame you at all for that, though. That's, you're pushing 40 and you're still an active battle gamer, so that's an accomplishment by itself.
right? I feel pretty good about that.
We've got a bell curve of player ages, and that is, I would argue, closer to the 30 range than the 40 is where most people are going to be.
Oh yeah, I'm hanging out on the tail of that bell curve.
But stick around. We need you.
I'll do my best. Fantastic, great synergy, good class, good abilities. I'm a big fan. I also, honestly, with being able to give yourself void touched, I agree with taking away the polearm. Otherwise, you go from being one of the weakest classes to probably the strongest.
Okay.
Take away the polearm and brings it back down to earth a little bit. So I agree with that decision. It just kneecaps me. So I play vanilla anti-paladin.
All right. How active are you with the Paragon board? I know you're moving to Boston, so that might be something you have to step away from.
I've stepped away.
Okay. But historically, what is something that an anti-paladin can do to really stand out to the Paragon board? I want to make a splash.
Play your role. If you are a fantastic fighter, I want to see you running either Infernal or Vanilla, or if you're fast enough, Corruptor, and you should be causing mass death anywhere you are on the field. If you are not a fantastic fighter, you should be following somebody who is and applying curses left and right. You should be preventing the other team's healers from being effective.
Okay.
You should make the paladins burn their greater reses, make the healers take nothing but greater res and greater heal. So those are the two big things I'm looking for. If you are not a great fighter, I'm looking for clever use of the poison weapon and clever use of that flame blade to boost your kit to keep up with better fighters. So, but primarily, do you curse are you applying the curses? Are you using that effectively?
Yeah, because anti-paladin has this sort of jank maneuver of stealing life to charge steal life, giving them infinite steal life essence, as long as they don't do anything else. So that, I always thought that was kind of a fun tech to give of somebody.
Absolutely. If a paladin takes an objective and an enemy healer is following behind that paladin, paladin's work can be undone in under a minute. An anti-paladin takes an objective, everyone at that objective is walking back to their spawn.
Okay. What advice would you give someone who's starting out as a level 1 anti-paladin?
As a level 1 anti-paladin, try to draw the heat weapons. Try to swat down fireballs, look for anything flame related, and eat it for your team.
Okay.
And then get used to trying to draw the odd, basically get used to the immunities, and get used to fighting in armor as well. If you came from Warrior, then you're already there, easy peasy.
Right.
If you came from one of the light armored classes, get used to having that extra armor, get used to taking those extra hits, and again, work on the immunities. Work on getting used to not worrying about those things, and then leveraging those into as big of an advantage as you can get.
Okay. Can you tell me why I should start playing anti-paladin?
Well, I think we're circling right back around to the start, and that's you get rid of, or you are immune to the most annoying spells in the game. You can't be odd, you can't be heat weaponed. Like whatever kit you brought to the field, you get to play with that, at least at kingdom level.
Okay. What advice would you give someone who is a level 6 anti-paladin and they want to become a Paragon Anti-Paladin? How can they up their game?
Oh, we talked about that a little bit. If you're not a Warlord, use the Flame Blade, use the Poison, use the Fireballs if you're an Infernal, to give yourself those advantages, generate small advantages, and start causing as much damage as somebody who is a phenomenal fighter. And if you're playing either the Corruptor or Vanilla Anti-Paladin, I want to see anywhere you're fighting, I want to see enemy players walking back to base instead of walking to the healer.
All right.
There should be a steady stream of players from the other team walking away from your area of the field with their stick over their head.
Have you ever taken on an apprentice?
I have not. That's not for lack of willingness. That's just nobody's asked.
Okay.
Anti-Paladins are relatively expensive kit to get into, so I don't blame anybody. Amtgard, as currently written, is somewhat of a pay-to-win game. If you want the most powerful class in the game, you have to shell out for a bow and a whole boatload of arrows.
Right.
If you want the second most winningest classes, then you're buying a suit of plate armor to play Warrior.
Okay. Yeah, Anti-Paladin doesn't have a ton of players. I mean, they only have 51 Paragons for all time. They're the lowest number of people who have Paragon the class, which is the only real metric we can use for amount of people playing. If someone was to approach you to become your Anti-Paladin apprentice, how would you want them to do that?
I would just ask.
Okay.
Yeah, I know I look big and scary, but I promise I'm friendly and approachable. Just ask.
I've got 3 questions for you, and then I'll turn you loose to go back to your regular evening. First off, What are you working on now? What's your next Amtgard goal?
I've been playing with Jedi Wizard a little bit.
Okay.
I don't think I'll ever get a Paragon doing it because it's honestly kneecapping the Wizard class. The whole spell list is built around forcing people to fight me with single sword,
Okay. Well,
which works great for me, but yeah.
do you know Big Head?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Know him very well.
At the last June event, there was a bunch of anti-magic fields, and Big Head was just standing in the middle of the anti-magic fields wearing his 4 points of armor with his flow and just this big grin on his face because no one wanted to go into the anti-magic field with him. And I was like, yeah, Big Head, no one wants to go into the fight pit with you with nothing but... Yeah, great guy. Okay.
I love Big Red. Good guy. Real good guy.
I hope to have him on the show sometime. He doesn't have a reliable camera access, but maybe someday we'll get him out. But you already soft answered this, being friendly and approachable. Is it okay for people to come up and ask you about Anti-Paladin at events?
Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
Awesome.
It's a poorly understood class. Like you said yourself, it's the least Paragon class there is. And yeah, there should be more of us, especially with the recent changes. That it got a nice buff to be more or less on par with the other classes.
Right. Do you have any final advice?
If you want to be a good anti-paladin, get good with the polearm.
All right. Well, a special thank you for coming on the show tonight. It's been delightful talking to you about Anti-Paladin. Unfortunately, I don't think this is going to be one that I'm going to end up picking up just because I'm not a warlord by any means, but it's been super fun to learn about it and get to know the class a little bit more with you. So thank you for coming on. To you, our viewers, if you are enjoying this interview and talking about Anti-Paladin, please subscribe for more battle gaming content, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.